When I'm better, when I don't have anxiety, I will go to the grocery store by myself, or I will take that vacation, or I will get up on that stage and tell people about it. But the thing is you can't beat the anxiety. This is where it's going to scare some people. You can't beat the anxiety until you face the anxiety. So this is where facing your fears a little bit, just a little bit, is something that you need to do. You need to feel that panic, you need to feel that fear, and you need to get up and kind of do it anyways. Because only by doing it will you survive it, and once you've survived it, you'll realize it's not going to kill you.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those things, and then you'll stop getting so worked up about it. But when you're in that rough space, it's much easier said than done.
For sure.
So I know that when I was dealing with anxiety and panic attacks, I'd always run back to sort of bedroom was my safe place, right? Stay in your bedroom. But you kind of have to realize that there is no such thing as a safe person or a safe place. And if you're ever going to die, you have a better chance of surviving if you're around people than being by yourself. So everyone kind of does the opposite of what they really, what's going to be most effective. What they should do if those feelings were real, which 90% of the time, 99% of the time, they're not.
No.
So let's talk about recovering from that, okay? Because we really want to get anyone that's tuning in or watching this is probably saying, okay, we get what panic attacks are, we get it. Let's talk about how we can get through it. So the Lucinda Bassett says there's three. It's a 6 steps, but we're going to talk about the 3-part process. Okay. So there's a process that's involved as well. So the first part of the process to truly recover is that we need to understand that we are creating the problem with our thoughts, with our expectations, and our fears. We are the source of the anxiety. It comes from within us. We're the only ones that can change it, not someone else, not a pill. I mean, it can help, but we have to change something going on here in the way that we think. So number 2, we have to have coping skills to help face challenging, anxiety-producing tasks. So how to talk to ourselves and talk through any kind of anxiety and comfort ourselves. So we have to be able to pick it up, talk through it, and work through it. And then number 3 that we discussed is face our fears. So feel the fear and do it anyway and go through that angst. You might have the time of your life if you just stay at that party a little bit longer and just float through it. If you just let the anxiety come and don't give it any meaning.
I think it's like a belief, though, right? Like a belief that you can get through it. Because me, when I started to have anxiety attacks and I didn't know what to do, I thought, well, this is it. Like I'm going to have a heart attack or a brain aneurysm. But I never got into, and more recently, just doing therapy and counseling stuff, that I really have come to a belief inside me that I'll get through it.
Yeah.
That it's temporary, it's not forever. And that's, I think, the best part about recovering from this stuff is that I have a full belief that it's not forever. That I'm going to get through it.
Right.
And if I can't do it by myself, I know that I have an army of guys that are going to help me, right?
There you go, 100%.
And I do have an army of guys. Look at you two.
Yeah, we'll help you out, buddy.
Thank you.
We'll help you out. And so, I mean, when you're in that dark hole, let's talk about depression for a minute. Because when you're in that dark hole of depression, you feel like you're never going to come out of it. And it can be really scary. I know I've been there.
Yeah.
And we need to know that we've come out. The one thing that keeps me going when I get in that hole of depression is I've come out of it before, I'll come out of it again. Yeah. I survived it before, I can survive it again. Eventually you learn the tools and it becomes better and better. Like, Paulie, one of your tools is when you're depressed, as long as you get out of bed and you go down to the couch, that little step helps you not go into a deeper depression.
I think I've spent years in my bed. Yeah. And I think that's one thing. If I'm really low, and I do get really low, if I can make it to my couch and even just do the same thing I was doing in bed but on the couch, then at least I've made it up, and I can say I walked 6 steps today, better than 0 steps, right? Yep. And that's an accomplishment. Yep. You have to take those. I think they're little victories, right? And we all have to take those little victories like there are little mini Stanley Cups.
Yeah,
right?
you do. So, it's a good move too. That's a great. You bring up a great point that you be proud of yourself for every little accomplishment, because it's not easy when you're going through these feelings.
Not at all.
And people are going to say all the wrong things to you, like, why are you so lazy? Why are you not getting up? That doesn't help any. Like, be proud of just kind of getting up and washing your face.
Yeah.
Just the little things, small victories, baby steps.
Yeah.
So, so it can be really scary. But with each panic, we're going to relate back to panic experiences now. If you allow yourself to float through the feelings, let yourself feel it, and work the 6 steps, which we're about to give you now, on working through a panic attack, this might be the last thing that you need to never have a panic attack again.
Yeah.
So that's good news. If and nobody, like Paulie said, nobody ever died from a panic attack. I have that in big capital writing right here in a smiley face. They always go away. They always come to an end. And a lot of the time with panic attacks, people end up in an emergency room, and usually as soon as they walk through the door,
they know they're in a safe spot.
They know they're in a safe place, so that goes away. And people say, oh, I could have sworn I had a heart attack, or this is a common thing. And like you said, they told themselves they're in a safe place, and this is a place where they can get help. Well, hopefully you can find power in the fact that now that you know that this comes from you, you can be your safe person in your safe place, or reach out to us, and we'll temporarily be until you have the strength to do it.
Yeah.
So when you no longer fear the panic attacks, they'll stop coming, and it's the fear that creates the panic. When you're constantly thinking and inside your head, you'll miss the precious present moment, and this is huge.
That was a big one.
That was a big one, right?
Yeah, that was a big one.
And unfortunately, when you have anxiety and depression, you don't mean to be, but it's kind of a selfish thing. You can't help it again, but
you're so focused.
You're so focused on you and what's going on inside you, and what are people thinking, and I know that you can't help it. We've all been there, but it's hard to give yourself to anyone in any way when you're so focused on the way that you feel and your own feelings and your own thoughts.
Yeah.
So obviously, it isn't your fault. You weren't, and this is the problem with everyone in this sort of. We're in sort of an awakening phase of life, I think, where people are starting to come forward and talk about these things. The shitty thing is, none of us learned how to deal with this at a young age.
Right.
So
no coping skills.
Yeah, there's no coping skills, and that's the problem. So now we're just now learning what this is and learning how to deal with it. I mean, when you're younger, you learn about okay, this is how I drive a car in standard. You learn that skill, but right now it's like we have the car in full. Like with the pedal down, but we have the brakes on too. You're just working yourself up. Spinning tires, absolutely. So, okay, so now let's talk about the 6 steps, because this is what people want to know when it comes to panic attacks. I'm going to read these right out of the book. So again, this is Lucinda Bassett's book from the Midwest Center. You guys might have something a little different because on the audio CD, the book's a little more up to date, but it's okay. It's the same kind of idea. So the first step to ending a panic attack. You're going to accept it. You're going to accept that it's coming on. So you recognize that you are feeling anxious. You accept your body feelings as a symptom of your anxiety and a sign that something is bothering you. So you accept that. Number 2, you might want to write these down as well. Give yourself permission to feel anxious about whatever it is that is bothering you. You're going to say, of course I feel anxious because I'm getting up on stage, or I'm going on that flight, or I have a tough time sleeping. Of course I'm going to be anxious. I have a history of this.
So that's the identifying, like what's really bothering you.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, but you're going to give yourself permission because there's a reason for it.
Okay.
And it's okay to have, so you're going to say to yourself, of course I have anxiety because, and it's okay to have anxiety. I know what this is and why I feel this way.
Okay.
So that's the permission.
I know for just on saying that one, the thing that really helped me out going through all this stuff, because I would get anxiety about judging myself.
Okay.
That like the things that I've been through, I had a normal reaction to abnormal circumstances.
Sure.
So like, why beat myself up for doing what any other person would do in that exact circumstance?
Right.
I just did the same thing that you would do if you were in that place. If you were in that place, we would all do the same thing, fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it was. So don't beat myself up, or don't beat yourself up. Don't judge yourself. Just give yourself permission to feel it.
Right.
And
yeah.
Like it's a normal
For me, and don't be afraid of it.
Yeah. Don't be afraid of it.
Don't be afraid of it. Everybody has these feelings in one shape or form or some time. So.
Yeah.
The next one, which is the big one, we did this last week, so tune into last week's podcast if you missed it. You're going to breathe, and we actually did this, all 3 of us last week. So first you're going to inhale through your nose slowly for 2 seconds, mentally counting 1 1,000, 2 1,000. Then you're going to exhale through your mouth to the count of 4 seconds again by 1,000s. So 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 1,004. Your out breath is going to be twice as long as your in breath, and it's going to come from out of your mouth and in through your nose. Do this for at least 60 seconds. So do it for at least a minute. Usually 2 minutes is better. Step number 4, the inner dialogue. We're going to use truthful, positive dialogue to talk yourself through at the anxious time. It will pass. Examples of dialogue might be, it's just anxiety, it will go away, I will not lose control, I can still go about my business feeling spaced out, and it won't hurt me. Number 5, we're going to distract ourselves. So get busy like Paulie did. This is where you can do something to release some of the self-induced stimulation. So here it says, your body's like a car in high gear with the brakes on. Don't just sit there, walk, jog, clean closets, but do something.
Yeah.
So use the adrenaline. Distract yourself from the way you're feeling. And number 6, you're just going to let time pass. And try to see a little humor in the way that you feel. I mean, we're all kind of laughing about it now because we've been through it. You may feel weird, but you don't look weird. Give yourself permission to feel weird for a little while. It's no big deal. Try to figure out what is really bothering you. Is it some type of conflict that you don't want to deal with? Is it a scary thought? Is it a ridiculous expectation you have about yourself? How about the television program you watched last night? What is bothering you? So again, pinpointing what's bothering us. So those are the 6 steps. They kind of line up with what you have there.
Yeah.
A little bit different. I think she kind of evolved it over time, but the main thing you want to really do is, I know what works for me is even if you don't get any of the other steps, just stop for a moment, breathe, and tell yourself calming things. Just say, it's just anxiety. It's no big deal. No one ever died from anxiety. That's the key thing.
Yeah.
You're not going to die from this. You're going to get through it. So hopefully you guys learned a thing or two. I know we did. Did you guys learn something this week?
Yeah, for sure.
I did.
What do you have anything else you want to add to this week's episode?
No, not really.
No?
No.
You covered everything?
I think so.
We went through everything in detail?
I think if I could say anything this week, especially that if you're struggling, reach out. Because it sucks losing someone to suicide, and if you're struggling, to reach out, because at least reach out to me. I'm available 24/7 if you're struggling, right?
Yeah.
And if I don't know the answers, I can get help from someone, or I can at least try to point you in the right direction. That I just don't want to see anyone else have to do this alone.
Yeah.
Because you really don't have to do it alone.
No, and one of the things that I really want to, I mean, I've lost, obviously, we both lost people. Have you lost anyone to suicide as well?
No, I haven't.
No? Okay, so, I mean, God, God bless you. I mean, God bless the situation. But what I really want to get across when it comes to suicide is even this gentleman that Paulie knew that was a good friend, at times he probably felt like no one cared about him and that he didn't have anyone.
A hopeless feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
How packed was his funeral?
Packed.
Yeah. So every one of the people in there are affected by this.
Yeah.
Does
and
not
will continue to be for a while. Cause he was such a memorable guy.
Yeah.
He, if you ever listen to EDM music, that's him driving his car with the EDM as Jack, right? And that's how I will always remember him, and I'm so grateful that I have that memory of him.
It's totally me.
Totally. I think the coolest part that I can take from this, or try to put a positive spin on it, it's sad, it's heavy on my heart, but I think I was telling you guys before, I went back and looked at my last Facebook message, and I told him that I loved him.
Yeah.
I said, I love you, man. And I hold a little bit of I'm okay with that. That's the last thing I said to him.
But who in that room didn't have that?
Right. We all loved him.
Yeah, but someone doesn't. What if someone in that room that went to his funeral was in a bit of a conflict with him?
Right.
How fucked up is that person going to be for the next little while?
Yeah.
They're gonna hurt.
So if you're feeling and you feel like you have no one, I promise you, there's someone out there that's going to be deeply affected by your decision, and it's not a legacy that you want to be responsible for.
No. And we're all here, right? And it's not like we don't want to help.
Yeah, absolutely want to help. So on that note, we'll turn the, if you're on Facebook, or Facebook Live, we'll turn that around. If you have any questions for us, by all means ask. You can always message us at any time. If you're a little shy, you don't have to say anything. We're just here, and if you want to type something, by all means, we'll turn that around. For the rest of you guys, we'll see you next Sunday. Thank you for tuning in.